the Kabbalistic tradition also teaches about these worlds, okay? The physical world, Asiyah, the desire world, which is Yetzirah, the world of thought is Briah, and the spiritual realm, or our archetypal realm in Kabbalah, is Atzilut, okay? So there's a direct correspondence here, and of course there's a reason for that, because it's derived from the same basic core tradition, okay? And again, these are aspects of the self. Okay, the physical world corresponds with Earth. It's the prima materia, the starting place, okay? It is our resources. It is our talents, our capabilities, what we have to work with, okay? The desire world, okay? We're talking about the emotional plane, all right? We have lower desires relegated to the physical world, and then higher desires, what we want to work on about ourselves, all right? Again, the physical world, he broke down the physical world into the dense body and the vital body. We talked a little bit about that. Of course, the dense body is just the physical body. He called that bone and flesh, blood and breath, okay, corresponding to solids, liquids, and gases, all right? Bone and flesh are the solid, then blood is liquid, and breath is the gas, okay? These are correspondences to the physical elements or states of matter, okay? The vital body was the energy body, the etheric body, and we talked about how, you know, he told stories that some etheric beings or energy beings actually visited him to communicate some of these teachings. Again, you know, that's up to you whether you accept that on face value or not. Many mystics have often claimed to have encounters with etheric or not quite earthly beings that are of a higher evolutionary development than we are, and perhaps not operating entirely on the same plane or dimension of reality that we are, and can maybe phase in or out of it and move at will from place to place or from time to time, and who are helping to guide us in our evolutionary journey in consciousness. And that doesn't all mean that they're always mean that they're always good. Perhaps there are very good ones who want to assist us, and perhaps there are others who are feeding off of the negative energies in this world, feeding off of suffering and fear, okay? And they're trying to drag us down because they may be stragglers from another incarnation or from another cycle that we've already moved through, okay? And again, Heindel put forward that we can know the truth about these matters if we work upon ourselves enough. And I'd like to read a little excerpt regarding that, the knowability of this information. In other words, that this isn't just pure speculation, that we can come to know the truth about these matters. And that's why he termed this an occult science, as did Rudolf Steiner also term Rosicrucianism a science of the spirit, something that is knowable. Not speculations, conjectures, or opinions, but something that is actually we can come to knowledge about. So that's the physical world broken down into the dense and vital bodies. Then the desire world has a desire body, and again, that was broken down into lower desires, which is, you know, what we want as far as our physical needs go, you know, food, clothing, shelter, sexuality, things like that. Okay, then you go up to higher desires. What do I really want to become? You know, what do I want to be the qualities of myself? What kind of person do I want to be in the world? These are higher-minded desires, okay, which really is what humanity really needs to focus on and work upon in themselves, because they're way too connected to the lower desires and these lower aspirations, as opposed to reaching higher and developing the higher-minded desires of the desire body, okay? The world above this in these four kingdoms is the world of thought, okay? And this is basically where we work to create the reality that we experience, because mind is the fulcrum, is the focal point of how we create our reality through our thoughts, okay? And then our thoughts have an inward expression, which is our emotions, and then they manifest together, when thought and emotion come together, they manifest in an outward expression, which is our behavior, our actions toward others, and that's what really dictates the quality of the conditions or the physical manifested experience that we live in. So he broke down the world of thought into the mind and the ego. Now, when he says ego, Heindel is not talking about the lowercase e ego. He made a distinction between the ego, which is the selfish desires or the things that only concern oneself with the roles that they play and their own needs, etc., which is what we would call ego. Selfishness. It could be generally likened to. Okay. He basically made a distinction between that and the higher ego. So when he's using ego, he's using it in the sense of the higher self. I make this distinction and use just the term self. The higher case S self is what he would call the higher case E ego, uppercase E ego. And what I call the lowercase s self in the work that I put forward, he would call the regular ego with a lowercase e. Okay, so this is the higher I. Okay, this is the higher self. All right. So mind was one aspect of the world of thought. Okay, and that's what we use to basically help us to determine what reality is, what the laws that govern this realm are, and how we should operate within it. And this is why the dark occultists focus so much on mind control techniques. Because if you could take that fulcrum point, which is the actual center point through which we create our reality, because it starts at how we think and then it expresses through what we care about, then ultimately what we do. But if you could essentially nip it in the bud and change people's fundamental axioms or their worldview, how they think, in other words, you have them from the beginning, from the word go. And then they start to care about only what they think they should be caring about, okay, through what erroneous ideologies have been put into their mind or they've been steered toward through different methods of mind control. And then ultimately they're not caring about things that really can better them and help to improve their conditions and experience, and therefore they're not consciously co-creating their reality. Even though they're always co-creating it, they're just not doing it at a conscious level. That's why mind control is such an important methodology to dark occultists, okay? Because they're all about wanting to control the outcome and no surprises and repetition and the reptile mind and basically getting people to go into lower states of consciousness where they can be controlled. And that's always done through fear. So the world of thought, very important, and the mind, again, would be that lower aspect of the twofold realm of the world of thought. Above that, you have the higher aspect, which is what Heindel termed the ego, what I would call the higher self, okay? And this is abstract thought, okay? This is actually where we're getting into, well, the lowercase, the lower region of this world of thought, the mind, focuses on concrete thought, okay? But the higher aspect of thought is abstract thought. And this is philosophical thought. Okay, this is where the higher self begins to reason. Okay, this is what you would say is the function of the balanced neocortex, the human brain. Okay, the human part of the brain, the construct known as the human brain. This is where conscience is beginning to truly develop, where one is really beginning to understand higher abstract thoughts, meaning the workings of nature, how natural laws operate, how we can align ourselves and our will with those workings, okay, with that natural evolutionary force that is inherent to creation, that we did not put in place, but is always there, okay? Whether we understand it or not, whether we like it or not, whether we even recognize it or not, okay? Abstract thought, the development of abstract thought through the development of the forging of the connection to the higher self, what Heindel called ego with a capital E, is the way that we come to know those workings. We come to know those ways that reality actually operates, okay? So this realm is of dynamic import. We have to understand how the realm of thought operates and how we should really be, in a way, aspiring to get up to that highest level of it, which is the realm of abstract thought. But there's even something beyond that. There's the realm of imagination, the pure archetypal realm, where really new ideas are born. Some would call this the void. Some would call this the experience of pure consciousness itself. Okay? This is what Kabbalists would call the realm of Absolute. Okay? Keter on the tree of life. And this is the realm of the imagination. This is the imaginal realm, or the realm of pure will. Pure consciousness. The will of creation itself. The driving evolutionary force that pulls everything upward, okay, through these other realms till it reunites with this force. This is true will with a capital W, as many have called it. And this is how we can basically get ourselves out of any mess that we've worked ourselves into. And without a connection to this higher realm, we're not going to be able to solve problems. Because if you can't imagine something as being different than as it is, you're stuck. You're not evolving. You're not moving forward. You're not really consciously creating your reality. Okay? This is why I've often said that the best definition for mind control is the extermination of the imagination. Okay? If you could exterminate someone's imagination, they can't ever imagine anything being different than how it is. They can't ever imagine getting out of a negative situation that they don't want to be in. They can't think their way through it. They can't change their mind such that they're not in the same cyclical, repetitive pattern, and they're going nowhere like a hamster running around in a wheel. And without the imagination, you cannot create what is known as the philosopher's stone. That is the prima materia. That is the guiding element. That is the thing that has to be born in an individual for them to truly evolve. And again, that is also helped with care, with intellect. Okay? It's about putting all these things together and integrating them. He's showing them, separating and analyzing them from what could be construed as a left brain modality, but he's also explaining how these all need to be integrated. We need to put our physical resources at work. We need to put our emotional aspects of our consciousness into what we are doing, to feel, okay? Not to be totally detached from the situation, but to be passionate about what we're doing, And we need to have proper knowledge, not just intuition, but intuition plays a great role in coming to know something, but it can't be the only way that we learn. We need to have actual worldly knowledge about how things work, and then higher knowledge, higher spiritual understanding about how things are operating at a universal, fundamental, connected level. All right? And then we have to act. We have to use the will, and we have to use the imagination to guide the will. Again, to imagine how something could be and then work to make it become better. That's the four kingdoms that Heindel talks about.